Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Julie Spring, and I am the Associate Director for the Center for Student Success. And I am joined by my friend and colleague, Michael. If you want to introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Gomans. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Center for Student Success and the campus manager for our student retention software system. Nice to see everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Michael. So what we're going to do is we're going to speak to you all tonight a little bit about navigating this hybrid and remote learning process to make sure that you are getting all the tips and tricks that you might possibly need. What I do want to do is just real quickly familiarize you with the screen. So we'll be showing you a little bit of a presentation. I promise it's not very long at all. We also want to make sure we leave time for questions. So you'll see on the lower right-hand corner of your screen, there is a Q&A box. You can certainly feel free to drop questions right in there for both myself and Michael. And while we are taking turns presenting, we will also make sure that the other one is watching that to be sure that we get all those questions answered for you. So like we said, you can see us right there. We are your presenters for the evening. Again, I'm Julie and this is Michael, and both of us work in the Center for Student Success. So what we do is we primarily work with the first year students. We are the first year advisors for various areas. I work with the College of Engineering, Technology, and Architecture. Michael, where do you work with?
I work with the College of Education, Nursing, Health Professions. So anyone that's education-based, our rad tech majors, physical therapy, exercise science, nursing, you name it, all under ENHP, that's with me.
Excellent. So that again is our primary role. And then of course we have a variety of other things that we do. The office in general works with the entire student population. We do a lot of transactional work. So in terms of add drops, billing questions, things like that. And then we also do work a lot with the students with regard to just questions in general, concerns, things like that. Whether it's from a educational standpoint like this, the navigating the hybrid and things like that, or more from a mental health standpoint, there's a variety of different things that our office does. So we're both very lucky to be at the Center for Student Success. And with that, we're lucky to spend this evening with you to give you a little bit of more information about this. So what we want to do is we want to start the evening by talking a little bit about how we got here. So as you know, we're talking about the hybrid learning, the remote learning. Thanks to the very unique environment that we're all living in these days, there's been a lot of different opportunities for our students, and Michael's going to cover that in a little bit. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to start off by speaking about sort of the daily efforts that the University of Hartford is doing to be sure that we're ensuring the safety of not only our students, but our faculty, our staff, everyone in our community. So one of the first things you'll see right here is that Live Safe app. So if we have parents that are joining us today of current students, maybe some of the students are joining us as well. Many of you will be familiar with this Live Safe app. We use it for a variety of things on campus, but one of the things we're currently using it for is that daily health screening. So myself, I go to campus 2 days a week to make sure that I'm there and doing what needs to be done for our students, and then I'm remote the rest of the time. But prior to arriving, I have to make sure that I fill out that health screening. I get an alert that tells me that everything looks A-okay, and then I show that as I come onto campus and make sure that public safety is saying everything is A-okay, and off I go for my day. Other things that we're also doing are, as you can see listed, the contact tracing, the weekly testing. All of the residential students needed to arrive with a negative test, and then they were tested right on site to make sure that they are all set. Students who are commuter students have to be tested prior to that first day of coming, and then they have a weekly test as well. So everyone has been very well aware of what needs to be done. They can certainly hop on the website as well if there's any questions or reach out to us in the center. But again, lots of testing is occurring to make sure that everyone is staying well and safe. You can also see that we're doing the wastewater testing. And then more on the proactive side, we're also focusing on the educational piece, the prevention piece, of course, the masks and social distancing, and then all of our classroom capacities for the students that have selected not to be remote and will actually be joining us on campus. So again, we're making sure that whether a student has chosen to join us this semester fully in person, or whether they're a little bit hybrid, so maybe they're sometimes in the classroom, sometimes remote, or whether they're fully remote, we're making sure that everyone is still getting that full Hartford experience. And again, as we go through this evening, Michael and I will share more about that. So another thing we wanted to just mention briefly is kind of the successes that we were able to have this past fall. So as you know, we've been dealing with this situation for quite some time now, unfortunately, and I can tell you, Michael and I will be two of the first to tell you we long for the olden days when everybody was all in the same place and it was crazy. But certainly one day at a time, we're getting back to that. But we were very fortunate this fall. Our president and all of those who lead us on a daily basis had kind of set out a plan, and the plan was to be sure that we were fully operational through Thanksgiving, and then we of course switched over to that remote learning post Thanksgiving, and we were very successful and able to do that. That was wonderful. Again, classroom spread was not detected at all this fall. So again, all those protocols that were laid out were certainly adhered to and very successful. Students did the best they could with following all of those COVID-19 guidelines. We understand it can be very difficult. Those of us who are adults and living in the work environment, we're missing our social interactions as well. So the students are truly doing the best they can to follow those guidelines. And because of their success this fall, we were actually able to relax some of those restrictions mid-semester, and it did not lead to a spike in cases. So we were thrilled about that. We were also thrilled about our community working together to keep each other safe and educated. There's already talk this semester about, again, those strict guidelines kind of right out the gates, which is why we're doing the fully remote week this week, and then being able to work with our students and making sure that they're all maintaining their testing and their distancing and their mask wearing. So again, we can relax those restrictions a little bit as we move forward and make sure that our students can get, again, that full Hartford experience. So what we would like to do now is we would like to jump into a little bit of the different learning styles that I mentioned earlier, and Michael's going to take it away and explain all of that for us.
Thanks, Julie. So this spring, very much like we had in the fall semester, the University of Hartford is targeting 3 different learning experiences for students. Again, with the COVID-19 situation in mind, we want to make sure we offer a broad swath of options for students that's realistic and matches the experience that they typically would expect for their major in the college that they're currently in. So for the spring semester, these are the 3 that we're looking at. We have in-person learning, socially distant, of course. So what we've done in the fall and again in the spring semester, is actually measured our classroom learning spaces and removed furnitures, chairs, desks, spaced everything out, taped everything off, sectioned off chairs so that it's actually really difficult for faculty or students to not be socially distant in those classrooms. There are admittedly very few only in-person learning experiences, and most of those types of classes are reserved for situations where we couldn't make virtual or hybrid learning work. For example, our Hartford Art School has a few classes in pottery making, which would be really difficult to do over the computer. So those are some of the classes where, because of the lab requirements where students need to be in a specific area, they would have only in-person learning. Again, this is the minority of the classes we're offering this spring semester. By far, our most popular option is what we would call hybrid learning. You may have heard your students talking about this with you from the fall, and you'll likely hear more about it in the spring. We call this the A-B schedule for most of these classes. So what this means is we're taking a traditional class, for example, a writing class that would normally meet in the spring semester on Thursdays and Tuesdays. And instead of students going both days, what faculty are doing are splitting up students into teams. So they may take an average class of 20 in a class for writing and say those first 10 students will come in person on Tuesdays, while the other 10 students will attend class like you and I are attending this meeting tonight virtually online at the same time, so that students in the classroom and students online are getting the same live experience from the professor. On Thursdays, those teams switch. So the students who were there in Tuesday in person would then attend virtually Thursday online, and the students who attended virtually on Tuesday would attend in person Thursday in the classroom. We found a lot of success in the fall semester, and students really appreciated having the model where they could go to class at least some of the time and then do some of their learning online. I would say safely the majority of our classes this spring semester follow that hybrid model. There are a few exceptions. For example, some classes only meet once a week. So some of those faculty members that are teaching only once a week are still following an A-B model, except they're doing it once a week. So students are going maybe just on Monday nights to a class. They may go 1 week in person and 1 week online. Or we do have some classes that meet 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example. Some faculty are being really creative with those. They're doing A/B type schedules on Monday, Wednesdays, and then a lot of those faculty are leaving Fridays open for all students and doing virtual office hours, which our students have really responded well to because it kind of builds in some extra support. We're going to talk in a few minutes about some more support and office hours from faculty as well, so we'll have some more details to share with you about that too. The last type of learning that we're doing this spring semester, just like we did in the fall, is remote learning. This would be entirely online. We do have a population of students who, despite all the precautions we're taking in the fall, felt safer staying at home, and we understand that. So we're doing our best to make sure that regardless of their major, we're accommodating those students' requests and making it possible for them to continue their studies at Hartford from the safety of their house. This would be an entirely remote schedule, meaning they would never attend classes in person at all. They would work with their faculty member, their advisors, and all the classes they're taking to attend classes online. So even if some classes are hybrid, where students attend in person one day, but virtually the other, if your student is remote, they would attend all of their sessions remotely. Those are the 3 predominant areas that we're offering students for classes this spring semester. You'll notice at the bottom, if it is a fully remote situation, we do have a really comprehensive process through our office that integrates other appropriate offices like residential life and financial aid as well on behalf of the student, so that if they do decide to go fully remote, and we are accepting those offers even though the semester has started, we have a process in place that lets all the appropriate faculty and staff on campus know that your student is transitioning from either a hybrid or in-person situation to fully remote. Any questions about that process can always be directed to our office, and we're going to share our contact information at the end of the presentation tonight. So, Julie and I want to talk a little bit about setting yourself up for a successful spring semester. And in particular, our theme tonight is virtual learning. So this is actually a perfect opportunity for me to give you a little tour. Those of you that can see, you're in my new home office, if you will. I've been remote for some time, beginning this year. And one of the very first things that I did was set up a dedicated space because I knew I was going to have some distractions at home as well. My wife is working from home, and we just welcomed our new son a few weeks ago. So I really wanted to make sure I had a dedicated space. And I give the same advice to my students as well. So what are some things you can keep in mind if I'm going to be home and I know potentially I'm distracted? How can I make sure that I'm still really successful this spring semester? So after having some conversations with our students this fall and some of our faculty and staff as well, here are some of the top things that we always recommend students keep in mind. Utilize a planner. And it doesn't have to be anything in particular. I know some folks like a handwritten planner, a little notebook they can keep in their backpack or their purse or on their desk. Others are virtual, like to keep things on their phone. And there's a plethora of free applications that you can download to your phone that provide you this opportunity as well. So whether you're a pen and paper person or a tech savvy person, organizing yourself in a daily, weekly planner is always a really good idea. Schedule time for review and study. This seems like a no-brainer, and to many of us that have gone to college before would agree. Absolutely. But for those first-time students, they might not think to themselves, I've got to schedule some time to review and study for class. I tell all my students, as silly as it sounds, and it might be a little awkward to begin with, give it a try for a few weeks. I myself find myself feeling much more comfortable when I know I have dedicated time slots for classes and activities and studying and reviewing for those classes and activities. And I encourage my students, and I know Julie does the same with her students, to try that out as well. We find most of our successful students this past fall semester really gave themselves some dedicated time for each of their activities, and the more organized they were, the more comfortable they were, and the more successful they were in classes. And above all else, build in some self-care time. This year in particular has been really hard. You heard Julie mention before, her and I have been at the university for more years than we're going to admit to you tonight on this call. And we too are very, very big people person. We love being on campus. We love being around the students. We love being around each other, colleagues, staff. And it's hard this year, admittedly, missing all of that. We know it's hard on the students too, especially our first year students who have been looking forward to transitioning to college for a very long time, only to be told it's not going to be the same. Or you can be here, but you have to be a certain distance apart. And you're not getting the real experience you had hoped for. While we're doing our best to make it almost exactly the same, given the COVID situation, it is a little bit different. And sometimes that can be really stressful. and we were of that too. We're going to talk in a little bit before we end tonight about different resources and events that we're going to be having on campus that address things like this. So students who are struggling or feel like they're disconnected or not having a good time, you'll be happy to know that we're having just as many events in certain months, more than we had in the fall semester, for the spring, so that students do feel connected. But sometimes it's not connecting with each other. Sometimes it's just taking care of yourself. And for each of us, self-care is a little bit different. I know for me, I like to read for pleasure. So I'll find a good book and I'll make sure I have some time in my schedule to just disconnect from the world and read a good book. I know Julie likes to get outside and play with her puppies. So I know on her schedule, she has some time to run outside, and whether it's during a busy day or between emails, she always makes time to give herself some self-care too. And I know each of us sends that same message to our students. As busy as you might be, and as many deadlines as there are, there's always time for self-care, something really important not to forget. Last, we want to talk about creating a dedicated learning space. You heard me say earlier, this is my new nursery home office guest room, but I've made a dedicated workspace with my laptop, my office phone, all my materials, so that no matter what's happening, I always have one dedicated space to go to. We had in our center first year advising classes this fall, where we encouraged all of our students, whether they were on campus or home learning remotely, to make sure you had a dedicated workspace so you can get yourself into school mode and out of school mode when you need to. As silly as it sounds, it really does help being able to sit down in a dedicated workspace, have all the resources that you need, and then when you need a break from that, to be able to physically get up and move to a different area. Sometimes it's not a different room or an office, sometimes it's just a corner of your living room or a section of your basement, if you will. We know students are at home sharing resources with siblings and parents. We get that too. Be creative. And we've offered to all of our students, if you're having difficulty being creative or trouble getting yourself into a dedicated workspace, come to our office. Let us know. We're always happy to brainstorm activities with you. But what does a dedicated workspace look like for most students? Well, a desk, or at least some type of hard surface that you can get yourself situated at comfortably. We find headphones tend to be the most popular option when we surveyed our students. Some of those really fancy noise canceling headphones. I have the little ones that plug into your ear and hang down and connect to my iPhone still. I know some of my students have the big bulky ones that cover their entire head. Whatever your preference is, it helps put you in a quiet space so that you can only focus on what you're thinking about. And then note-taking supplies. And again, this is based on preference. I know some of my students prefer pen and paper. I myself prefer laptop. I can type much faster than I can write, and admittedly, most days my writing looks like scribble. So whatever your preference is, make sure you have something readily available to go so you can do your best type of learning. And then utilize our campus resources. You heard Julie mention it before, and we're going to give you a little list before we leave tonight. But there is a plethora of resources available for free for students on our campus. In addition to our office, we have services like the Tutoring Center, accessibility services, a reading and writing department, and much more, which, Julie, I think is our next slide. It is. So these are some of the top resources on campus, certainly not all of them. And if there's questions about what we are or aren't offering, please feel free to let us know. You've heard Julie and I both mention the Center for Student Success. So we predominantly do first year advising in there, but we're open and available for all students. So if they're having difficulty connecting with an advisor, they just have some general questions, or if they just need to pop in, whether it's in person or virtually this spring, and ask for some advice, we're always available. We also take care of things like scheduling, changes to billing. This year we've been a key partner with our residential life office. You heard me mention earlier about the transition to remote learning as well. We're also the office that handles orientation. So as much as we focus on our current students, we're also really excited every year to welcome our new class of students over the summer too. Our centralized tutoring center is available on campus, and they are hosting virtual appointments as well. They have about 70 peer tutors that are available in the fall and spring semester. These are real live University of Hartford students that have taken a class during their academic career as an undergraduate and done really well in that class, and have decided they want to be able to give back and help peer tutor other tutors, other students in their grade or lower who are struggling with a class. Peer tutoring is free for all University of Hartford students, and we offer it in the majority of our popular classes: biologies, chemistries, math, sciences, writing courses, and even some of the courses that we don't offer specialized tutoring in. You can always come to the centralized tutoring center and get writing support for that class as well. We have general writing tutors always available for students. It does, as you would anticipate, get really busy at times. So I always encourage my students to secure your peer tutor early in the semester. This spring, we're really excited to announce we're going to have peer support workshop classes as well, small group gatherings, socially distant, of course, where they can focus on just one main topic, like biology or chemistry, in small groups of 6 to 8 students. And of course, given the circumstances, we're doing virtual tutoring as well. Our tutors are typically available between 8 in the morning and some hours late, like 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and do a really good job working with individual students' class schedules so they can meet virtually for 45 minutes or so when that student needs some additional support. I mentioned a little bit earlier professor office hours. If you're not familiar, each of our faculty professors on campus are always asked each semester to create office hours or time each week that they're available in their office, again, whether it's on campus safely or virtually like we're meeting tonight, to meet with students to go over questions in class. You'd be hard pressed to find a professor who doesn't have office hours, especially this year. And if your son or daughter ever says to you, I'm struggling a little bit and I don't know what to do next, your very first piece of advice should always be, did you contact your professor? Did you go to their office hours? If they tell you, I'm not sure if they have office hours, or I don't know where to find that information, mom and dad, your next response would be, I heard in the parent hour, it should be on your Blackboard, or it should be in your class syllabi. Usually professors go over this during the first or second week in classes, but in case anyone missed it, please know that professors are always available, and there should be no issues at all with your student reaching out to that professor for some additional class support. We have accessibility services. It's an office on campus that's designed to help students who need accommodations for their academic learning. If you have any questions about whether or not your son or daughter qualifies for those academic services, the website link we've included leads to a really comprehensive website that walks you through the entire process, including eligibility, requirements, documentation that's needed, and if it's your very first time applying for accommodations, what that would look like as a first-time applicant. We have our ITS office, which is a fancy name for all of the tech support we offer on campus. And this is by far one of my favorite offices on campus, because I know I'm always breaking something. My email gets locked out, my Wi-Fi goes down. Julie's laughing because I usually call Julie to tell her there's a problem and I don't know what to do to fix it. Someone in ITS always is available to help me out 24/7. And the same goes for the students on campus. This year in particular, they are our most valued office. They are taking care of everything from your students' Hawkmail email accounts, their self-service website where they can change classes, see their schedule, print transcripts, see a bill, and they're monitoring campus Wi-Fi at home. I'm happy to let you know, Julie and I are both home and we're actually connected to the Hartford network right now for this presentation. They have set us up with home offices as if we were on campus. So for those of us that are connected with ITS, if you're looking to get involved a little more, son or daughter always has issues with Wi-Fi, connecting, email, Blackboard, always a good option. They have an email and there's usually someone available at the help desk around the clock for students as well. Last but not least is Blackboard Help. So Blackboard is our on-campus learning module that most of our professors will use. You may have heard your students talking to you about this before. My professor posted my grades to Blackboard. My professor posted my assignments to Blackboard. You may have heard of this a lot in K-12. Some high schools will use Blackboard. Other comparable software includes things like PowerSchool or eBoard. Blackboard is the college version of that. And it gives faculty the option to open up a virtual class and post assignments, hold chats, have live classes like this, and post grades for assignments. But occasionally a student will have some difficulty, especially in the beginning of the semester, navigating a professor's new Blackboard. Hey, I don't see Blackboard, or I heard in class it would be here, but I'm confused and I don't know where that is, or I'm only looking and seeing half of what I was expecting. Our options for that are always to reach out to the professor first, but we do have a dedicated Blackboard office on campus, and the link will lead you right to their website as well, with an additional staff team that's always available to provide additional technical support just for Blackboard. Julie, any resources? I think that's probably the top resources for campus that I can think of, at least for the spring semester for students.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there are other areas. Our athletes certainly have resources for academic purposes right over in athletics. Each of these schools and colleges tend to have a student services division within their school or college. So for instance, if you're in the College of Engineering, Technology, and Architecture and you're beyond that first year, then certainly there's a student services division in that college. And same for ENHP and Arts and Sciences and the art school and all of the above. But I think this list was actually, a great start in terms of campus-wide. So I think what I'd like to do is jump in for a minute and also speak about staying connected. So you've heard both Michael and I talk about this evening how even for us who, we've done the college piece, we are adults and we're in the working world, staying connected is more important than ever, whether we're a student, whether we're a faculty member, a staff member, a parent, what have you. So what we wanted to do is take a minute just to show you a couple of examples of how students can make sure that they're staying connected, and whether it be on the academic side, which is more of the resources that Michael just went over with you, or more on the social side. So the reason we show you this, which is this link, which is a new platform that Hartford has been using called Presence or UHeart Hub. Depending on how your student is involved, they may have heard it called both names. Again, it's Presence or UHeart Hub. The reason we're showing you this is because this gives you more of the events and activities side. And again, as Michael alluded to earlier, the university is really focusing this semester especially on making sure that we have a great combination of in-person events, but also virtual events. We want to be sure that students who are in a fully remote experience are getting the same opportunities that our students who are actually joining us on campus are. So if you join us at this link, like I said, the Presence of the UHeart Hub, if you actually go through and do it as an app, it's going to be the UHeart Hub. It's going to give you a list of all the clubs and organizations, but more importantly, it's going to give you all the upcoming events. The nice thing is that it's also going to feed in some of our important dates throughout the semester. So there may be more broad events for the entire community. There may be specific events, but there may also just be important dates such as ad drops or things like that, where this will all be located on these two platforms to make sure that students are aware, again, whether they're with us in person or whether they're in a fully remote experience. A couple of examples, as you can see, we've listed out for you that have become quite popular last semester and we've extended them into this spring semester, are the Wellness Wednesdays, which actually begin next Wednesday, the 10th. Very excited. There will be a virtual piece to that, but there's also going to be a table for a little giveaway that'll be out on campus. Hopefully it won't be quite as chilly as it was today, but it's okay. We can handle it. But you'll also see that we're going to continue to do things such as trivia nights and some workshops. I know that we'll definitely be working with the Career Studio. That center will specifically be doing a lot of virtual workshops with regard to internships and things like that. Because again, we want our students who have chosen this fully remote experience to be sure that they still feel connected. There is no reason why they should feel as though they're not getting the same resources, the same connection as a student who has chosen to join us on campus. And that also, I believe we spoke about it, but that also goes to our Center for Student Success as well. A student who is looking to connect with us, so they may be connecting with their advisor, whether they be an advisor who's still in the center, or if they're an upperclassman, an advisor that's in their college, they will know that they can, yes, see those people to some degree in person if needed, but everyone is offering that virtual platform. So whether you go to a faculty member's website or whether you go to Compass, which is another venue that we have, another platform that we have on campus that students are familiar with to be able to make appointments, everyone is offering that virtual and remote experience for you to be able to come and visit. For us at the center, not only do we offer those individually as each of us in our roles, but if you go to our main website for the Center for Student Success, if you kind of linger there for just a few seconds, there'll be a little chat feature that pops out to you and says, hey, would you like to chat with us? That is manned throughout our entire workday. So basically from 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, somebody is right on the other end of that. If you hop on, ask a quick question. It could be something very quick that they can answer immediately, or it may be something that they then say, hey, I'm going to send you a quick Zoom link and speak with you, or they may connect you on over to one of us in the advising staff to also address those questions as well. But again, the one thing we want to make sure you walk away from this evening is understanding that we want to be sure that our fully remote students feel just as connected as our in-person students. And if for some reason your student is coming to you and saying that's not the case, then please, the Center for Student Success should definitely be your first point of contact. So there we are. That leads us to, it's now up to you. So Michael and I have spoken at you for about a half an hour or so. So we want to give you a minute to let us know if you have any questions. Michael, I have been watching the chat and the Q&A and nothing's come up so far, but that certainly doesn't mean that something won't come up if we just give it another minute or two.
No, nothing in the general chat, Julie. I got two private messages. One just says thank you. So thank you for joining us tonight. And one from Joe. I'll hold Joe's last name. Joe said, my daughter was there in the fall semester, felt really connected, very comfortable. Great job with COVID. Thanks, Joe. I'm glad your daughter felt really connected and comfortable. I hope she's with us again in the spring semester on campus. Um, I think for Julie and I think we can speak probably for everyone at Hartford, that's a big thing for us this year is making sure students feel comfortable and safe and connected, like Julie said. I know a lot of what we talked about tonight is predominantly academic based, and that is always our number one focus. But I know for Julie and I, as many academic office hours as we have, we're two of the staff members in the office who, if a student wanted to just get lunch or a cup of coffee, you could find us in the cafeteria just having lunch or a cup of coffee, talking about siblings at home, their favorite pet, part-time job. And we're not there this year, so we're doing those things virtually. I had quite a few late night cups of coffee with my students this fall, where just after dinner they were looking to connect and they wanted to talk about how the week was going. So I'm always happy to do that too. If we would offer it on campus and we can find a way to do it virtually for everyone at home, we're always happy to do that. And I think above all else, that really speaks to what Hartford's really about, making sure students feel connected and safe and nurtured while they're here. And again, like Julie said, and I'll second it as well, if your son or daughter is coming to you and they don't feel that way, they're feeling disconnected or they need additional support beyond what they're currently getting, encourage them, please. Come, speak out, reach out, ask for help, go to their faculty advisors, go to their college deans. If no one's available, come to our office. We're always there, virtually or in person. We're always happy to help.
I do have one quick question that just popped in, Michael, that I want to address. But also, I'm going to throw my jspring@hartford.edu contact in the chat for everyone. And if you wanted to throw yours in there as well, just in case anybody needs to reach out to us after, that would be wonderful.
Sure.
But the question that came in is actually a great question and an easy one for us to address. They wanted to know if a student is set up for full remote this week, are professors notified? The good news is everyone on campus is in a full remote week this week. So this is our quarantine week. So whether a student is fully remote and will be for the entire semester, or whether a student has fully moved back into campus and is joining us, or whether they are a commuter, so they're a hybrid combination, all of our students are remote this week. So Monday through Friday, all learning is remote learning. No concerns whatsoever. You don't need to worry about any special attention going to any faculty member. All faculty know that all classes have to be taught remotely this week, so all accommodations have been made. Starting next Monday, which I believe should be Monday the 8th, then we will move into our full semester, meaning if a student is fully remote, they carry on as they are in their fully remote classes. If they are a fully in-person class, they will begin going to their classes. And if they're hybrid, they will learn from their faculty member what week we are in. Are they in A or B, as Michael explained? And will they be remote next week or will they be in person next week? And then follow their schedule for the rest of the semester. So great question, but the good news is no pressure for this week as everything has been fully set up for all the students. So I am just going to peek and make sure we didn't miss any questions.
I think that's all of them, Julie.
Yep, I don't see anything else. Michael, you said you didn't have anything else in your private either, so I think both of us have checked the common and the private chat, so I think we're all set. So again, this is our main contact information that we have left for you here, which is at the Center for Student Success. But again, both Michael and I have dropped in our personal emails. So I am Julie Spring. He is Michael Gomans. We've dropped in our personal information as well. Please do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us, even if we are not the contact person for your student. As the associate director, I am happy to work with anybody that I might need to. And Michael is one of our senior advisors in the center. So again, he never turns anyone away. He probably should sometimes, but he never does. So please don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us if we can help. I see a couple of thank yous popping in, and we thank you for spending the evening with us. If there's anything else we can do, we will be more than happy to address those questions or concerns. But for now, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening and a great semester, and we will be here if you need us.
Thanks, everyone. I was glad to see you all. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Julie.
Bye-bye.